Straight ahead?
You can look at me.
Okay.
So what happened last night? Or say and spell your name.
Yeah, it's Detective Richard Encinas, Encinas, and I work in the Media Relations Office for the Mesa Police Department.
I kind of just roll through what happened yesterday.
Sure. So last night, a little bit after 8 p.m., we received a 911 call of a possible shooting at the CVS pharmacy that is located at Mesa Drive in Brown. So we dispatched officers on the way. While officers were on the way, one of the witnesses was able to give us a description of the possible shooter, a good clothing description, size, hair, those types of things, and direction of travel. So as officers were getting to the scene, our real-time crime center was able to access some cameras that are in the area, and we're able to locate a suspect who was walking northbound on the northwest corner of Mesa Drive and Brown. He was walking back behind the buildings there in the strip mall. They relayed that information to our officers, and we had officers go directly to the scene to tend to the victim, and then additional officers responded to that location. The officers that responded to the location where the suspect was last seen walking behind the building found him matching the description, and actually witnessed him throw what they believed to be a gun into the canal that runs parallel to the building there. The officers, then gave him commands. He complied. Officers took him into custody. At that point, noticed that the suspect did have some blood on his hands, on his clothing, things like that. They transported him back over to the incident address, and he got positively identified at that point as the person that the witnesses saw commit this crime. So the other officers responded directly to the CVS, where they found our victim, 49-year-old Michael Jacobs, down in the store. He had suffered multiple gunshots, and we got fire medical personnel to him right away. He was transported to the hospital, but unfortunately he was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Inside the store, there was Michael, by the way, was the manager of the CVS. He was an employee there. That's important to know. There was also 2 other employees in the store at the time and 2 additional witnesses. Both the employees and the witnesses all basically gave us the same story, that Jared, suspect's name, Jared CV, walked into the CVS. He stood up front by the counter. He asked for the manager. He waited for the manager to come up. As that was happening, he actually directed people to get out of the store. He kind of had some premeditation there. When the manager came up, he displayed a firearm and started firing at him. The manager tried to get away, and he actually followed him around the store and kept firing at him. He did not harm any of the other employees or the witnesses, thank God, and he told them to leave. And then, like I said, we were able to find him a few minutes later just north of the scene there and take him into custody.
The suspect had an incident at the store earlier that day, correct?
He did. So what we think this all stems from at this point, based on our investigation, was our suspect, Mr. CV, had gone into the CVS earlier that day. He had what people are describing as an altercation with our victim, the manager. I think there was a claim of the suspect shoplifting at that time, something to that effect. He was not arrested at that time. He was let go, and he was trespassed from the property by our officers. He then, subsequent to speaking to him afterwards, after he was in custody, he told the detectives that's what happened during the day. It made him really mad. He said the manager swung at him and physically assaulted him, and he made some statements to them that was the last person that was going to do that to him. He had been bullied a lot, and that was the final straw. So he actually almost, went home, thought about this for several hours, and decided he was going to go back and do something.
The witnesses, were they customers?
So there was 2 employees and 2 customers. So there was 4 total.
And they were all inside the store when the shooting happened?
They were inside. The suspect told people to get out of the store, and I believe that the 2 witnesses that were not employees went outside, but heard the shots, saw him leaving, and were able to give us some information about that.
paperwork says that I think witnesses said they heard 4 rounds of gunfire. Do we know how many in total shots were fired?
Yeah, it's looking like that's correct. We found some shell casings in the CVS, so they're obviously, we got to do our due diligence and run some checks and ballistics and things like that. But we're guessing it was around 4.
Now, the shoplifting incident, do you have any information on what he was trying to steal? Does he have any prior history of trying to steal things from this store?
I don't know that. I can find that out for you. All I know was it was an accusation of shoplift, so I don't know if they could maybe not prove that or not because officers did not take any action, or the store maybe declined prosecution and just said, hey, we don't want to do anything. Just tell him to leave and he can't come back. So that's usually, it goes one of those two ways. Either we have enough to make an arrest and the store has to be a willing victim. That's important because if there's no victim in a shoplift, there's technically no crime. Or in this case, maybe they let him go, just said, hey, you can't return, you're trespassed from the store, you can't come back.
Do you mind if I ask, just in general terms, these days with shoplifting, are employees supposed to get in the middle of it if they suspect it or let people go, or is it their discretion?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the answer to that because just based off, working on the street for a long time, different businesses, different companies have different policies. So I know there are some stores that, big box stores, let's just leave it at that, who don't want you to ever touch anybody who might be committing a crime. They just say let them go and we'll deal with it later. I'm not sure on the policy of the CVS, and I don't even know if there was an altercation. There was an accusation of an altercation. So, I don't want to make it sound like our victim was punching this guy out or whatever, because we don't know that.
How would you describe this incident?
Tragic, first of all. I mean, you have an employee here working, doing his job. Sounds like they cut our suspect a break earlier in the day, didn't have him arrested. And, unfortunately, this suspect just had it in his head that he was bent on revenge or he was bent on getting even and took matters into his own hands, and that resulted in the death of the employee. So, very sad.
What is your message to the community?
Well, I mean, obviously, be vigilant when you're in a store or you're in a thing and you see something that doesn't look right, or you hear something. In this case, the suspect told people to clear out. Good idea to clear out if that, just to avoid that kind of thing. I wouldn't confront anybody. If you are in the store and somebody's stealing or somebody's doing like that, we always tell people to be a good witness. So step away from the situation, call us right away. Good description. That's what basically led us to solve this very quickly because our witnesses were very alert. They called us right away. The quicker they call us, the quicker we can respond. And we got a very good description, and we were able to locate him within minutes. And so not only that, the officers witnessed him physically throwing the gun away, which is pretty rare. You don't see that very often.
Do you know how long he had been a manager at that store?
I do not, no.
One of the charges was prohibited possessor, correct?
Correct.
You know what that stems from?
A prohibited possessor just means you have a prior conviction as a felon and something usually involving weapons. And one of the stipulations of you getting out or getting on probation or being out is you are no longer allowed to possess weapons. So that just leads me to believe that he had a prior conviction involving that.
But no information on his prior felony?
No, I can get you his priors if you need me to.
Anything else you think we're missing?
I don't think so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.